Salt and Shadow. Kenta, wrestling under the name Takeshimura, had once been called a sumo prodigy. Born in a mountain village where the winters bit hard and the summers steamed, he had trained in a ring carved from clay and pride. His father, a former Sandame wrestler, had built the dojo himself, flattening the earth with his own hands, lining it with straw and blessing it with salt. The villagers had gathered to watch Kenta's first bouts, cheering as he threw boys twice his size. When he left for Tokyo, they gave him a banner stitched with his name and a prayer. He rose fast. His style was belt heavy, technical, graceful. Coaches praised his balance, his calm. By 23, he was knocking on the door of Ozeki. Then came the injury. A torn knee, a bad landing, a scream that echoed through the arena. The doctor said he might walk again. They didn't say much about sumo. His disappointment whispered in his mind, a quiet, relentless echo of everything lost. The dreams that had once burned bright now flickered like dying embers, smothered by pain and silence. Each failure, each forgotten cheer gnawed at him, a shadow growing heavier with every breath. At night, the whispers twisted and grew, carried on the wind like a dark hymn. Kenta's pain radiated outward, a silent beacon in the dark, a psychic tremor that stirred something unseen. Faint, haunting whispers echoed back, swelling and twisting, amplifying the torment until it became a roar inside his mind. "You are forgotten," the voice hissed. "Make them remember. Seize your destiny." His stablemaster allowed him a leave. "Go home," he said. "See your mother. Heal." Kenta returned to a village half empty. The earthquake had taken the school, the shrine, and 27 lives. His father's grave was cracked. His mother, now frail and silent, barely recognized him. The old ring was still there, barely. Weeds had crept in, the straw was gone, the clay was split like old skin. He stood in the fading light of dusk, the old ring crumbling beneath his feet, memories swirling like mist. The whispers returned, some in his own voice, others like shadows of fault, deepening the despair, sharpening his resolve. They drifted softly, like wind through pine needles, speaking of sacrifice, of pride, of the cheers that once filled the air, of the father who watched from the stands, eyes glistening with joy, of villagers who had moved on, forgotten, leaving him behind. His vow was absolute. He would do anything to reach the goal he had always dreamed of. "You gave everything," a voice murmured, "your youth, your blood, your name," and still they turned away. At first, Kenta thought the voice was only in his mind, but then he sensed a presence, an old man, perhaps from the village, though unfamiliar, approaching silently. "Hi," Kenta affirmed. "I would do anything to achieve my goal and bring honour to my family and village name." "I can make it so," the old man said. "You will rise, you will be feared, you will stand where the gods watch. But it will be your own undoing." Kenta said nothing. Words were unnecessary. "Anything," he repeated, his voice steady and resolute. The next morning he returned to Tokyo. He was different. The knee was healed. More than healed, it felt forged. His body moved like it had been carved from iron. But his style had changed. He no longer reached for the belt. He shoved, he slammed. He drove opponents off the dojo like a storm. He began to win, fast. Other Rikishi whispered. At the Tachiai, they said his skin was hot to the touch. One swore he saw steam rise from Kenta's shoulders. Another claimed the salt burned where it landed near him. Kenta noticed it too. He began to sprinkle less salt before matches. It stung his fingers. The ring itself felt hostile. Each stomp sent a jolt through his bones. Yet he kept winning. His style, once defined by grace and guile, had become violent and explosive, his temperament merciless. His stare-down wilted lesser Rikishi, and his respect for others slowly diminished. He pushed opponents harder to the floor and into the crowd than seemed necessary, and his bows to the loser barely stayed within the bounds of acceptance. Despite achieving all the victories required, the elders hesitated to award him the highest rank. "Too violent," they said, "too fast, not sumo." But the crowd loved him. They chanted his name. They called him Tetsuo, Iron King. The weight of his unbroken winning streak was impossible to ignore. Eventually, they relented. He was promoted to Yokozuna, and with that rank came the right. The Yokozuna Doyo Iri, the sacred ring entering ceremony, a Shinto purification ritual, a gesture of humility, of spiritual balance, a rite meant to drive out evil. He could not refuse. The day of the ceremony, the sky was pale and silent. The crowd gathered. The rope was tied around his waist, thick, sacred, heavy. He stepped into the ring. He raised his arms. He stomped. He threw the salt, and the air within the ring screamed. The salt hissed. His skin blistered. The rope tightened like a noose. The crowd watched in awe, unaware that the ceremony was exercising its own champion. Kenta fell to his knees, and the clay split as the Oni's spirit left his body, howling into the sky.